be one.
She's out of town.
Sometimes
fall
I'll
break.
go to
Yeah.
and go, okay, I got it.
It's fall break.
I got a golden season.
Yeah,
It feels like fall out there.
Yeah, it does. Feels like it.
Going every summer.
Whenever fall breaks when I was a kid.
No, I don't think we had those either.
We went around.
Well, technically, we did before.
That was when we walked 10 miles in snow to get to school and all that. Well, that was my mother.
Right.
I bet it was
Bare minimum.
underneath, but,
My oldest son, we lived.
Do you know pretty much everybody in your
He
group
was
as
in
well?
Actually, I was.
And you could see the school from your backyard. You could either walk or you could get in the car and go 10 minutes to get down.
Well, you can, you know, it's open now, they've taken it.
So he
You can drive in
walked
there on there
around
and
kids
look.
in the
I
neighborhood.
actually just did it a couple
And
weeks
there's
ago, I drive
been
by
many
there.
times when he
I
has
give my
walked
son a
to
ride to
school in
school,
the
so
snow.
I pulled in there.
And I told him, I said, you can truthfully say that you walked to school in the snow.
Yeah, oh my goodness,
And I walked with
there
him.
has been plenty.
Almost.
Well, they used to never call school open for snow.
Rotate, actually one.
Expected to be there.
Charlotte,
Charlotte.
Louisa, her family, I don't know what her
Third
husband
week
does,
of
he moved
January,
here
supposed to be 19.
a year or two ago, and they've got that anytime.
Oh.
Yeah.
From Jersey, I think.
Is that where they moved from?
Yeah.
You remember there, aren't you, Gary?
Yeah.
Fitness, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you
How many
run your
days
own
it-
association.
Added at the end of the year.
I should join that one, I keep going to the rush, I just know
We-
everybody there,
I
and
like
I'm,
going to this one.
And then they call it off.
Big in this one.
well, you know, I'm 100, you're the
We
horseman.
live about 10, 15 miles out of town.
I got you.
And my mother was a teacher, and of course she had to wait till everybody got gone. And so we were there to get home.
I tell you, there's a couple guys at
After
the
we
rush right
built
now,
up a while.
they're just horses.
So,
Oh, yeah.
Holy cow, there's
I'm sure it's all natural.
Yeah, right, exactly.
almost.
Hey.
Definitely.
Good
I
eating.
don't see
Great
that
way to-
exciting.
Oh,
You got it? Okay, we'll get to it.
big boy. Pretty efficient.
Oh, we can't get down there on that. Anyway.
Want to call the October the 17th, 2013 meeting of the Farragut Municipal Planning Commission to order. We're going to start out with citizens forum. Does anyone have any comments or questions that do not relate to an item on the agenda? Gary, would you remind us about the training, the session November the 5th?
Yes, there is a joint workshop that we set up for November 5th, which will be held here at Town Hall from 6 to 8. Hopefully it won't last the whole 2 hours, but the purpose of this workshop is to discuss our architectural design standards and how we want to see those standards evolve within the town of Farragut. And discussions after we did our land use plan and discussions with town manager David Smoke, Mark Shipley, and some of the other key staff members, we thought it would be best to have a joint meeting between the board, the planning commission, the VRB, and the economic development committee to make sure we're all on the same page and in the direction we want to go in. Again, that's November 5th here at Town Hall. It'll be an open meeting, very informal. I'll be probably heading it up with Mark, and should be a very fun, collaborative, hopefully light meeting.
Okay, thank you. Everybody get that on their calendar to remember it. I have a request for a motion to amend the agenda tonight to remove an item, item number 6. We want to postpone this for a later date. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Excuse me, is the sound system on?
My light's on.
Yeah, should be. Yeah.
You get that?
It was unanimous.
Okay, approval of the minutes for September the 19th, 2013. Do we have any corrections or changes?
I'll move for approval.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I abstain, I wasn't here.
Item number 3, discussion and public hearing on the re-subdivision plat of Chapel Grove subdivision off Grigsby Chapel Road, parcel 100, tax map 142, to change the platted lines, and building envelopes, zoned R-4, Good Works Unlimited LLC applicant.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. These first two items are not normal items that would come before the planning commission or that we have seen before the planning commission. So it'd probably be easier if I just kind of read what Mark is scripted here first to get in the record and for my own benefit and for the benefit of the people watching at home. The Chapel Grove subdivision of Grigsby Chapel. First, let me get this advanced on here. The Chapel Grove subdivision off Grigsby Chapel Road was originally platted in November 2007. At that time, the development included 35 buildable lots and 1 open space lot. 2 buildings, one with 5 units and the other with 3 units, were constructed. The required 25-foot buffer strip was planted and the 2 required stormwater detention basins were constructed. Since that time, there has been little activity in this subdivision. In an effort to rejuvenate this development, the owner is requesting to replat the lots and building envelopes on the undeveloped portion of the property to provide mostly 2-unit buildings. This requested re-subdivision plat includes revisions to 21 buildable lots. That would mean that at completion, this development will have 29 units instead of 35. The open space lot, Lot 36R, encompasses roughly 28% of the development. The North Fork of Turkey Creek consumes a fair amount of this open space on the eastern portion of the development. You can see on the GIS on the map I have up on the screen. It's not in your packets. You can see the floodway that I've got indicated there, and it goes right up to those building lines, or the lot lines. Related to this, the re-subdivision plat takes into account the latest flood study and incorporates the town's newly adopted 4 rather than 3-foot freeboard requirement. This means that any new buildings in this subdivision will have to be elevated 4 rather than 3 feet above the base flood elevation. This offers future residents an extra degree of protection from possible flood damage. I know that Mr. Sharp is here representing the applicant and his brother, so if you wanted to make any comments about this, I'll turn it over to him.
Would you come up
And-
to the microphone over here, please, and tell us who you are and give us an address?
I'm Brad Sharp with Urban Engineering, and it's 11852 Kingston Pike here in Farragut. Basically, the modifications are market-driven, and all the homeowners, to our knowledge, are aware of the changes, and they don't oppose, to our knowledge. And we'll be having they're having a community cookout on October 25th, and we'll try to attain all the signatures on that day.
And that was part of the discussion we had with the applicant, with Chris, over the past couple weeks. And the staff recommends approval subject to obtaining the appropriate signatures and at least 75% of the existing homeowners acknowledging in writing that they are okay with the proposed lot line and building envelope modifications.
Gary, isn't this similar to what we did at Price Farms with changing and then having to get the approval of the homeowners?
That's correct, minus the base flood elevation changes.
Does anybody have any questions?
Gary, would you point out the 21 buildable lots for me, or one of you?
This is the revised subdivision. Is that correct, Brad?
Yes.
So you can see the darker shaded ones are the existing buildings, and the other ones would be the modified lots. And you can see the building envelope on there. I mean, right now, if you went out there, it would just be a blank lot, but that shows you the setbacks and the building envelope for each one.
I was out there today and couldn't figure out where they were. Not 21. Thank you.
Can you show the one with the creek again? The contour of the creek, is that at flood level or is it normal?
I'm sorry, say that again.
The contour of the creek itself, is this showing?
This is showing the
Flood.
500-year floodway.
All right, that's what I wanted to know, because I didn't think it was that big normally.
You can't, if you look at it from the actual ortho, the aerial photo, you can't see the creek. This is existing. So that's where the creek runs back through here.
So there won't be any disturbance of the trees or any of that,
Correct.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Are all the existing vacant lots owned by a single owner or
I'm sorry?
are all the vacant lots still owned by a single owner?
I'm not aware of that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
What about utility changes? How does this replatting some of these lot lines affect some of the locations of the vaults and pedestals and water taps and so forth?
I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure we show that on the plat, but the easements and such, but I'm not sure. You mean the existing utilities?
Mm-hmm. Trying to take the existing utilities, and after you're redrawing some of these lot lines where normally you'd like for a water and a sewer tap and your electrical vault and so forth to fall on property lines, well, now they're probably not going to fall on a property line. They're going to be conceivably in the middle of somebody's lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's going to make it a little more challenging trying to accommodate the construction in the future. Not impossible. It's done. There's been a couple of subdivisions that have actually done that, replatted lot lines. It's just something to kind of think about when you're proposing these new lot lines is where the existing utilities are, because it does get into quite a bit of considerable expenses when you're having to put a new sewer tap, new water tap, and a vault's kind of a big deal with LCUB having to move the vault.
I think the changes were minimal, so.
Okay.
Any more questions or comments?
I want to take my question another, may explain a little more, because we're talking about 75% of the existing homeowners, and I'm thinking about also owners like lot owners, and I don't know who owns these vacant lots, and if we don't know that, how do we know what signatures to go get?
I believe it's one owner that owns all the vacant
Rest-
ones.
Okay, that was my question.
I concur with that, Ed. I'm somewhat familiar with the neighborhood. I believe it was Mr. Keck out of
Keckley.
out of
Gary Keckley?
Gary Keckley out of Nashville. I think he owns all the undeveloped lots.
Yeah.
So we're talking about signatures from the ones where we see the
The-
structure.
Well, it
It's
would
just
one
the-
more.
it would require his signatures, obviously, to meet the 75%. But most importantly, it is going to require. Well, you have to do the math. It may not require
Well, that's what I'm saying.
the existing home.
70%
You're exactly. I see
70%
where you're
lot.
going with this.
Exactly.
Oh,
I wanted
okay.
to
You're-
learn what 75% of what means.
Well, I think maybe a point of clarity is it existing lot owners or is it existing homeowners? There's a difference.
Right.
I'm not sure what the intent is. Is the intent to have the homeowners, Gary, or is it the intent to have the property owners?
I would make the judgment call it would be the lot owners.
Okay.
Well, then he may already have 75%.
Yeah.
I have discussed this with one of the homeowners in there, and that homeowner does support it because they feel like that it's actually going to make a little higher end product instead of having some units with no exterior end walls. Every unit will have an exterior end wall.
Yeah.
And so he was excited about it. This particular homeowner that I'm talking about, that felt like it was a good thing, that it would help improve everybody's value slightly.
Yeah.
But that is not indicative of all the homeowners. That's just one homeowner that I happen to know that lives in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Leave 7 more.
Well, to our knowledge, there's no objection, so.
It seems like that when we dealt with this a year or two ago at the Price Farm, we originally asked for 100% participation, and then that later got revised to 75%. Was that some negotiation, or was that an appeal? I just can't remember how we ended up deriving that 75%.
Yeah, I can't recall it either.
But didn't we originally, when it was a major conceptual change to the development, didn't we originally want unanimous support for it?
Yes.
I can't see any particular downside with this. I just think about in the future, if somebody was going in the inverse and they were taking a 29-lot subdivision and going to a 35-lot subdivision, you might get some homeowners that get upset about that. I can't necessarily see why somebody would get upset about this, but nevertheless, I just kind of remember thinking that we originally wanted unanimous support for big changes like this.
I think the reason we changed it at the other development was we said we don't want one person to be a holdout and cause
That's
problems.
what I recall.
And that's
Okay.
how we pulled it back to 75.
Well, I agree. And you may have one person who's an out-of-state owner, you just can't obtain their signature.
Yeah.
We also
So-
discussed the fact that the people at that particular instance were concerned with the fact that it lowered their property values because they were going to single buildings.
We're talking about like over McPhee Road.
Uh-huh.
There was the
Right.
conceptual
And-
change. Okay.
But, so that was the argument also at that time,
Mhm.
is that it would lower their property values because they had detached homes where they were going to more of a single patio home type design.
Mhm.
You know, my recommendation in this case would be have it be 75% of the existing homeowners versus 75% of the lot owners. Because if one person, I mean, right now, there's only one person going to have to sign off on it. So, I mean, if there's concern about screwing up what people already have, if you went with the existing homeowners, which odds are you're going to get it anyway.
I agree with Ron. I do think that is important, that it's not 75% of the lot owners, because I think the developer in itself is going to have that power without, and that could be all the homeowners saying, no, that's not what we bought into. But I think if we have 75% of the existing, and if, correct me if I'm wrong, I think there's only 8, is that right?
6 of 8 would be what it is.
So all you got to have is 6 of the 8 got to sign off on it, and I think that's in my mind, kind of super majority.
Well, in the staff recommendations here also,
it did spell out-
says at least 75% of existing homeowners.
Homeowners.
Yeah,
Those are,
so just make
Right.
sure.
we define that as
clarify
residents,
Right.
not
That's
lot
exactly what
owners.
we mean.
Okay.
Right.
So if we say 6 out of 8, then that's acceptance criteria, and that's good.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Kind of, do we want to make sure you guys are on board, everybody's kind of
Yeah.
on board with the same? I guess we'd like to see, we just don't want to see anything shoved down any existing homeowners' throats by a developer.
Okay.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
I'm prepared to make a motion unless there's more
Does
discussion.
anybody else have any questions or comments?
Okay, then I'll move that we go with the approval, subject to them receiving 75% of the signatures of existing homeowners.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 4, discussion and public hearing on a site plan amendment and access variance for right-in only access off of North Campbell Station Road for the Holiday Inn Express at 816 North Campbell Station Road, Zone C-2, Sachet Patel applicant.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. In 1996, a plat was recorded under the title Ganga Partnership Subdivision. This plat established right-of-way for a portion of the Snyder Road extension. I'll bring up a map here for you.
Lie right over there.
This being Snyder Road here, Campbell Station, and this is the subject parcel or subject property. This plat established right-of-way for a portion of the Snyder Road extension. The plat also created a joint permanent access easement in favor of the property where the Fairfield Inn has recently been constructed. You can't see it on this map here. Property east of the Fairfield Inn property and the property north of the Fairfield Inn where the Holiday Inn Express was constructed. Access for all of these parcels was required to be off this joint permanent access easement once the access way within this easement was constructed. Since the Holiday Inn Express was constructed prior to the access way being constructed on the above noted joint permanent access easement, the only access available for Holiday Inn Express was off of North Campbell Station Road, which is the existing cut that's on there now. Their site plan was approved with full access on North Campbell Station Road, with the understanding that once the access way on the joint permanent access easement was constructed, the Holiday Inn Express access on North Campbell Station Road would have to be removed so that it would be in compliance with the plat requirement that the only access be onto the joint permanent access easement. A key purpose of the plat that was recorded in 1996 was to ensure that access to both North Campbell Station Road and Snyder Road extension would meet the 400-foot distance required between access points on roads classified as arterial on the major road plan. When the Holiday Inn Express was constructed, there was full access on North Campbell Station Road with a deceleration lane, and the ground-mounted sign identifying the entrance to the Holiday Inn Express was situated near the North Campbell Station Road access point. This project was finalized in May of 2009. When a request to construct the Fairfield Inn and Suites was approved by the Planning Commission on May 17, 2012, there was also an approval for the site plan to remove, Once the access way along the joint permanent access was built, the Holiday Inn Express access onto North Campbell Station Road in order to be consistent with the plat recorded in 1996. The removal of Holiday Inn Express access onto North Campbell Station Road and the connection from their parking lot to the access way constructed on the joint permanent access easement was completed in early August 2013 so that a certificate of occupancy could be issued for the Fairfield Inn and Suites in mid-August. Since that time, the owner of the Holiday Inn Express has apparently received a number of complaints from patrons that see the ground-mounted sign and the deceleration lane and try to turn into the Holiday Inn Express property off of North Campbell Station Road. This access is now closed, with curbing and sidewalk per the plans approved through the Planning Commission. The owner is requesting to reopen an access off of North Campbell Station Road. Rather than a full access, the owner is requesting a right turn in access only. Patrons exiting the Holiday Inn Express will be directed to the joint permanent access easement and Snyder Road and ultimately to the traffic signal at North Campbell Station Road and Snyder Road. This proposed access will be roughly 189 feet from the northeastern portion of Snyder Road, North Campbell Station Road, and roughly 392 feet from the nearest access to the north along North Campbell Station Road. Approving this access will require a variance from the 400-foot distance required provided for in driveways and other access ways ordinance. And enclosed, you'll find the site plan. I'll bring it up here on the screen. But basically, the Google Earth image is more up to date. You can see where the construction is, basically to the south of the existing Holiday Inn. The curb cut that's there now is closed. This is showing it as open. So what we have is we still have this deceleration lane here. This is closed, so people coming off the interstate, not being familiar with the area, are turning on and getting into this area and not knowing where to go after they find it's closed. So it's I think we have orange barrels out there now. It's really a safety issue at this point. So I'll read the recommendation Mark has here. Staff recommends approval of the site plan amendment and access variance, which also must be approved by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, provided a plat of correction is approved and recorded to amend the 1996 plat, and the note which requires the Holiday Inn Express tract to only access the joint permanent access easement. And I know the applicant's architect engineer is here, so I don't know if he wants to speak on this issue.
Does anybody have any questions or comments?
I can't think of a more common sense approach to this. It's just one of those things that just got overlooked a few years ago. We just never thought about it, but it makes a ton of sense. If you look out there at the site and you see that deceleration lane, you think, gosh, there should be a turn here. Mm-hmm. And I can't see any harm out of a right turn only into that Holiday Inn. So I think it makes a ton of sense, and I would support the variance.
Yeah, I mean, people are coming to there, like, you want to get them to that destination.
Right.
And you
They can figure out how to get out later.
hunt for it.
Right.
But and it also directs them back to where it's, if they're gonna, instead of going across traffic, they get a red light and can go out and a much safer movement. And so there'll be an occasional person that tries their best to go out that, just like where we ever see it. But I think we just accept that as a given. People are gonna try things like that, but it's gonna be much more infrequent. So I think it makes very logical sense to do it.
I'm Paul Williams. I'm a civil engineer. I work with Best & Associates Architects in Maryville, Tennessee. I do the site work and the structure for all the designs we do. There's two things. I think you mentioned the safety issue. A lot of people come to this hotel the first time using the GPS, and when you use the GPS, it takes you to this entrance that no longer exists. The owner, Mr. Sashi Patel, has agreed to put up signs on both sides to saying "Do not enter," and to put up signs in the hotel and to make sure that when people check in, they're told that they are to exit on the joint permanent easement. The joint permanent easement is working. It's doing fine, except for the people that come in and turn in there and they can't turn. They pull off. we've had discussions with Daryl Smith, the town engineer, and with Mr. Johnson, the fire marshal, and we have agreed to make the inside curbing a drive-over curbing. There will not be any grass put between the back of the curb and the sidewalk. It'll all be concrete. That will allow the fire trucks, ambulances, emergency vehicles to enter there and not to create any damage. It will appear to be just like anything else, any other entrance, but the large ladder truck or anything like that from the fire department can go in this entrance without any damage, and yet it is a narrow entrance. It's narrow enough that it will discourage the people who try to go out there. It will be I see that all the time. Things damaged because people are driving incorrectly. You wonder sometimes how they got their driver's license if they can't read or whatever. But we think we have a design that will discourage very few people. I mean, discourage most people. There'll be very few who try to come out there.
Would you explain that curbing again to me?
Yes, ma'am. It's a drive-over curbing. Instead of being 6 inches wide, it's a foot wide, and it's sloped back so that you can drive over it and not hurt your tires or hurt your vehicle. And there is on the second page of the plans you have, there is a little detail that shows that. I have a larger copy if you'd like to look at it.
You see a comment used on roundabouts where where a truck trying to.
Yeah, but it's used on roundabouts because sometimes a big truck can't make the turn, so the rear wheels are the ones that cause you the problems.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions or comments? Can you please come up to the microphone, tell us who you are and where you live?
My name is Marion Fraser, and I live right here in Farragut. How does someone get
We
in?
need an address, please.
I'm sorry, 217 Village Green Parkway, Farragut, Tennessee.
Thank you.
How does someone get into that establishment right now? Can you show us the easement? Or I see what you have done for safety purposes, but if I wanted to go in there right now, how would I get in there?
You'd have to go down Schneider Road, turn right on Schneider, then take a left right on the east
Okay.
side of the Fairfield Inn. That's-
You
Okay.
you kind of drive through the parking lot of another hotel to
Yeah.
get to
Okay.
this hotel, and that's why I think this makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Because it's a convoluted way to get to that hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
I'm
you
gonna
say,
do the
you
walk
get
of
there and you
shame
see
and
it and you
I did it
can't
the
get
other
there.
night.
It's very frustrating.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm wondering how many people, have a reservation at the Holiday Inn and they say, "Gosh, I just don't know how to get there,"
Yeah,
and then they
and
drive
they
off
give
and go
up.
somewhere else.
Yeah, and
So-
that's not fair to Mr. Patel. All righty, thank you. You've answered my question.
Kinda see-
Can you show us, Gary, on this diagram, where the road is
There is.
put in, that's the access?
There were plenty of people in the parking lot today when I went by.
That's Snyder Road right here.
Yeah.
So you've got this. I believe that's,
Well, you
That's
got,
on the old Snyder.
that's the
Right
old
up through
Schneider.
here,
okay.
The new
The
Snyder
access
is where all the
is
grade work is.
right up through there.
Fairfield is.
Showing us on the,
Yeah, it's
He's right.
it's right up through there. That's the roadway to the existing
Daycare, isn't it?
daycare right
Daycare.
back there. And the
Fairfield's back over here.
the joint permanent easement is about right through here.
Yeah.
It wasn't cut when this was made, but if you get the first sheet over there.
but it's very clear when you're in the parking lot that there is another way to get out.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Here it is, right here. If you'll look up there, joint permanent easement comes up beside the Fairfield and extends up and into the parking lot. This was actually designed back when we had the when you guys approved the site plan for the Holiday Inn, we designed this roadway system at that time.
You have the same owner for both hotels, isn't that right? Is that right?
For what?
For both hotels, is the same owner?
Mr. Patel is the principal owner of the Holiday Inn. He is a minor partner in the Fairfield.
Okay.
So he has ownership in both pieces, but is not principal owner of the Fairfield.
I think they're great assets to the town, and I think if there's ever grounds for a variance, this sure makes sense, even though maybe, well, it does really create a hardship. So I think the right turn in is a great solution. And you explaining why the right turn in is, my first instinct was to make that right turn in a little sharper, to try to discourage people maybe going southbound on Campbell Station Road from turning left into there. And then all of a sudden, when Dan Johnson got involved and saying, hey, I'd like to have some better fire truck access and ambulance access to a hotel, then that explains why maybe it's not quite as sharp as we would normally require.
And it's a little wider. It's, my initial width was 12 feet. I figured that was a driveway width. That did not sit well with Mr. Smith and Mr. Johnson
Fire truck.
because of the size of the vehicles that might want to use that and would use it if it was available.
Well, I can sure see that if there's a 911 call, and if that driver of the ambulance is not familiar,
He's
that
going to go
he's going to
right.
be somewhat discombobulated trying to figure out how to get to that hotel. And I think this makes a ton of sense. I'd offer a motion for approval.
I'll second.
With do we need to go through the details of the variance, the actual number of feet on the variance? Gary, is that something you need, or are you okay with approval of the site plan amendment and access variance,
Yes, that's fine.
provided that a plat of correction is approved and recorded to amend the 96 plat, and the note which requires the Holiday Inn Express track to only access the joint permanent access easement?
Do we do this all in one thing, or do we, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So we've had a,
Ron second.
and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
One additional comment I can just offer for free was, I've seen it work very successfully where people would put a large white arrow in that, or colored arrow in that pavement showing the inn, and a do not enter words facing the wrong way driver.
If you notice, there are 4 arrows
I
planned.
know the arrows are on the drawing, I just wanted
Yeah,
to reinforce the fact
they're
that
planned to be painted.
that wasn't just direction, it was actual something.
Yes, sir. That, anything we can do to discourage ingress.
Yeah.
Egress is what we've asked for. Ingress, like I say, they shouldn't, the drive is not steep. It's the Fairfield has landscaped the area very well. It's pleasant to come down that way now. So we hope it works. We're doing everything we can to make sure that it works.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Item number 5, discussion and public hearing on a site plan for the addition to the Dixie Lee Liquor Store, 1344 Kingston Pike, 1.022 acres, Zone C-1, Mark Balick, GPS Engineering applicant.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The Dixie Lee Liquor Store at the east intersection of South Watt Road and Kingston Pike is requesting approval for roughly 1,500 square feet of an expansion to the east side of the existing facility. This expansion will accommodate a wine tasting area, beer cave, and office area, and is being proposed in anticipation of changes that could occur with the state's wine and liquor laws. Since the existing Dixie Lee Liquor Store does not comply with the front yard setbacks from South Watt Road and Kingston Pike, the owners recently requested an approval from the Board of Zoning Appeals for an expansion to a non-conforming building. The request was approved because the expansion itself did not compound or intensify the building's nonconformity. The expansion is to the east and meets the setbacks from the eastern side property line, and the site has plenty of room for the expansion. The lot coverage is increased slightly from 52% to 53%, well below the 70% maximum permitted. The proposed expansion also does not create a parking space shortage. Based on the size of the building, 21 parking spaces are required. The site has 32 parking spaces, and no existing spaces are being removed as part of this expansion. At the same Board of Zoning Appeals meeting, the owner requested a variance to not construct a sidewalk as part of this relatively minor site plan along their Kingston Pike frontage. This is required by the ordinance. This variance was approved due to the small scale of the proposed expansion, the extreme space limitations, and utility conflicts along the frontage, which would have required a complete reconstruction of this area to incorporate a sidewalk and grass strip separation. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following comments being addressed. One, and I don't know, do you have the recommendations in front? Okay. Please provide the location of the second required fire hydrant as referenced in your note on sheet A-0.0. This can be indicated with a description similar to second fire hydrant located approximately 300 feet west on Kingston Pike. And 2, any new HVAC units must be screened as provided for in the Farragut zoning ordinance, so they are not visible from adjacent properties or right-of-ways. I know Mr. Bialik is here representing the applicant. I don't know if he wanted to comment. I'll defer to him.
Name is Mark Bialik, GBS Engineering, 1313 Calmia Road, Knoxville, Tennessee. We're asking for approval and subject to those two conditions. The owner's fully aware of the conditions and wants to comply with the town requirements.
Does anybody have any questions or comments?
I'll move for approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
That's subject to the conditions, right?
Right.
Right.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Have you looked at these, and are you in?
Yes, no, the second item on there, the first one was an overlook on my part. I went looking for that fire hydrant and didn't see it, and Mark brought it to my attention. But the second one, we knew that from our staff meeting, and we just didn't have enough time to address it prior to, and knew that's something we have to, because we're looking into whether we could put it on the roof or on the side of the building, and how to do it properly so that it meets all the town requirements. We just want to make sure we do it right the first time when we submit it. That's why we just knew that was going to be a comment.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any public hearing on proposed location of new utilities?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Did we vote? We did, didn't we? Voted on that, didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay. Betty, you got me one. See, I believe you.
I was thinking about a beer cave.
It's still early, Betty. You
Yeah.
got plenty of time.
Okay. The October 17th, 2013 meeting is adjourned.
Have a personal inspection of the.
Yeah.
Thank you. You too.
Betty, may I?
I wish I could trade you. I'd like to be gone for 10 days.